All right, that was some amazing piano playing by one Hazel Scott, born on today, June 11th, back in 1920. Hazel, Miss Scott was an amazing musician, obviously played jazz and ragtime and stuff like that. She also was a very famous actress who really broke some pretty impressive grounds for African Americans in theater and movies because she was a big civil rights player, or big player in the civil rights movement. And at a time when we talked about Jim Crow and segregation, she refused to play places that had blacks and whites separate. She was actually escorted from a theater in Austin when she refused, when she saw that it was blacks and whites had to sit in separate sections. She said, if you're willing to come see me play, how dare you not sit with people? How dare you not think it's worthy to sit with people who look like me? I'm good enough to perform for you, so you better sit together. And when they refused, the Texas Rangers actually had to escort her out. She was in movies, and if she thought that she was being portrayed in a stereotypical negative way, she refused to do the part. She was the first African American female to get her own TV show in 1950. She had her own really popular, it's like a musical kind of variety show that really broke a lot of grounds. She is partially responsible for remember Jim Crow segregation. They had different races had to sit and do different things, and she actually sued the state of Washington when they tried to make her sit at a separate restaurant, her and her entourage as she was touring. And in 1953, the state of Washington passed the Washington Public Accommodations Act, one of the first laws to truly challenge Jim Crow and segregation. And it was partially because she was a public figure, and she challenged and said, this is wrong, and went to the courts and made change that is better for everyone. Speaking of tying us into what we've been talking about the past few days, she is actually going to run afoul. If you remember yesterday's announcement, we talked about McCarthy and the Red Scare and like how he was accusing everyone of being a communist. We accused her of being a communist. And Miss Scott stood up and testified in front of Congress and said, I'm not a communist. But the controversy of it, her show is going to be canceled because of it, partially because of it, or mainly because of it. And then she's going to go to Europe for a while, come back in the 60s after the civil rights movement is in full swing, still keeps playing, becomes a big hit in Europe, actually performs on some soap operas here in the United States. So Hazel Scott, an important musician, a brilliant pianist. Look up her playing the piano, and it's amazing to see how, I don't see how your hands could fly that fast on the piano. Ask Mr. Haygood if you don't believe me. That's some good playing. But also really important for breaking new grounds because she stood up and said, we're all equal and we need to be treated such and help break some ground for it. So Hazel Scott on her birthday today. We also have, today is, I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to get YouTube to say it. Okay, listen up. It's it's a Hawaiian word. Listen up. Try it again. Kamehameha. It is King Kamehameha Day in Hawaii every June 11th, and he was the king Hawaii was a couple kingdoms, and in 1810 he unified the island of Hawaii into the Kingdom of Hawaii, which is interesting because you hear people say Texas is the only state that was its own independent being or independent its own country, and that's not true. Like Hawaii was its own kingdom. It's going to be a kingdom until the late 1870s, early 1880s, when I think his granddaughter, she goes by Queen Lily. She's got a longer name than that, but Queen Lily, because I can say that. That's what she goes by. A bunch of United States, German, and British immigrants to Hawaii are going to come there and become powerful landowners, and they basically have a revolution against her. And this revolution is going to be backed by the United States. And then this group that took over Hawaii from Queen Lily is then going to petition and become part of the United States, the first a territory, and then it becomes a state after World War II. why Hawaii was really important. You see the Philippines and stuff. In order to have naval power back in the late 19th century, remember 19th century is 1800s, right? The ships were fueled by coal, and coal is really heavy, and you couldn't carry that much of it. So, if a country is going to have naval power across the world, it really needs to have a steady base of like basically ports where they can store coal and refuel in. And so Hawaii was a very strategic position. Midway between Japan was becoming a power at this time. China was everyone looked upon as like a big market for goods, and Europe was all taking over Asia. And so Hawaii was very strategic. And so after this group of landowners took over Queen Lily, they eventually petitioned to become the United States, and it was in the United States' interest for a lot of trade reasons and naval power reasons, and so it becomes a territory. Eventually, stayed after Pearl Harbor in 1941, the Japanese attack. Then it becomes a state later. But today is the national holiday in Hawaii to celebrate the king's birthday, and they have big parades with flowers, and they actually a big part of it is there's a statue of him in I think it's in Maui. In front of the State House, and they drape him with like a lei, like a big flower wreath. And there's actually a statue of him in Washington, D.C. that also gets a wreath today. So it is King Mahema. I took it down, but I had trouble pronouncing that name. But it is a Hawaii holiday to celebrate the birthday of this king who unified Hawaii into the Kingdom of Hawaii way back in 1810. All right, so what are we going to do? Have birthdays. I also wanted to tell you, interesting thing happened yesterday. I meant to tell you yesterday, but I didn't. So I'm driving to work, and what did I see? Right in front of my car, in my street, and I live in town San Marcos, so that was in my neighborhood. There was a cow that had gone rogue, actually two cows that escaped from somewhere, and were walking down my street towards LBJ, towards the university. So interesting. Don't see that every day. Okay, so let's find the birthdays. Where's the birthdays? All right. It is Lauren Reyes' birthday. It is Jason Curry's birthday. And Veda Montserrat. Happy birthday to you all. All right, we're going to close on the four-way test. Remember, y'all, production value is my thing, right? I'll have this down eventually. All right. The four-way test are the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? There's no virtue because it's June, so I'm going to keep on going out and saying, y'all be good to each other. Read, have fun. Make sure you do something silly, like have Godzilla in a video or something. Just make sure you're having fun and taking care of yourself and taking care of your families and taking care of just all the whole world around you. We need to be together in all these times, and I'm missing you. Can't wait to see you, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Adios.